Hello, my name is Angel and I'm an Education Outreach Fellow at the University of Leeds. So my job focuses on supporting students making the transition from year 12 and 13 to higher education. Today I'll be speaking to you about the Extended Project Qualification, the EPQ. So what is the EPQ? The EPQ is an independent research project, and the main focus of the EPQ is on the students' ability to work independently and project manage themselves. And the EPQ can be on anything the students want to research, as long as it's not something that they're covering in another subject at school. Cool. The EPQ is made up of three main components. So the first one, the project product, next the production log, and finally the presentation. So the project product is a piece of work that you will produce at the end of your EPQ. So that's the 5,000 word essay, give or take a few words, or a practical piece plus a shorter written reflection. And the production log is a reflective piece of work you'll produce alongside your project product. And this thing is gold dust. The production log provides a space to reflect, analyze, and evaluate your journey as a researcher in producing your EPQ. And when you finish your project product, you then have to deliver a presentation to a non-specialist audience. And this is an opportunity for you to show how much you have learnt on your chosen topic, while also being aware of your project's strengths and weaknesses. And any of the reflective points that you made along the way in your production log are good to include in your presentation. So your presentation should tell the story of your research, but also consider any problems you've encountered or anything you might do differently, which is really good practice for the future. So an EPQ is equivalent to half of an A level, so it is an extra bit of work on top of the subjects you've already chosen to study at college or sixth form. But the EPQ is honestly a very good way for students to prepare for the increased expectation that comes with studying and balancing a number of commitments at university level. So types of EPQ projects. There are two types of EPQ projects. There's the written and there's the artifact. And a written research project is the most common type of EPQ. It's about 5,000 words long and it will be subject specific. And you could research using primary or secondary research. You could also produce surveys or conduct experiments, all of which are very exciting because it will lead you to produce something new and contribute new knowledge. It's worth pointing out that during your research, your sources don't have to be strictly academic, journal articles and such. You can use sources such as social media as long as it is relevant to your research. You don't want to lose marks there, make sure it's relevant. So the written element of this type of EPQ is your project product, and it should answer your research question. On the other hand, an artifact research project is similar but a little bit different. With an artifact, the physical object or product or investigation or event is the project product. It's great. You can redo anything that's feasible with the time and resources that you have, and you can get really creative with it, which is great. So the artifact is supported by a shorter written piece of work, which will answer how, why, or what inspired you to produce the thing that you have created, your artifact. To be honest, artifacts can be tricky because you can't just decide to paint a picture or write a song. You have to produce research to show why you created something and the process of that as well. So although your supervisor marks the EPQ internally, it's marked according to an external examining body's assessment objectives, like AQA. And there are 4 different assessment objectives. I encourage you to go and read your EPQ specification. But for AQA, they are manage, use resources, develop and realise, and review. And as you can tell from the 20% on this slide, each assessment objective is weighted differently and worth a different percentage of your overall final mark. So AO1, manage, is worth 20%, and it's defined as identify, design, plan and carry out a project, apply a range of skills, strategies and methods to achieve objectives. So assessment objective, this one can be achieved by showing clear aims, obviously, detailed planning for each stage of the project right from the beginning, intended audience. So this is particularly for artifacts, making sure you have a target audience and making sure that your artifact is meeting the needs of that audience, or it's meeting, it's like for the intended audience as best as you can make it, and showing that you are trying to make it as for that intended audience. And having any revised aims or topics. So often within research, you will find that the initial idea or the initial aims aren't quite, aren't quite good enough. You read back and you're like, oh, I could make this better, or I need to change that bit, or there isn't enough research here, so I need to change this aim. Number of different reasons why this might be, but put that in your production log. And having any revised aims or topics is a good thing, and obviously can help you score marks in this assessment objective. So AO2, use resources, is worth 20%, and it's defined as research, critically select, organise and use information, and select and use a range of resources. Note here it's not just gather as much information as you can find, it is also to select and use a range of resources, and that's really important for you to bear in mind. Also, analyse data, apply relevantly, and demonstrate understanding of any links and complexities of the topic. And you can achieve this assessment objective by showing a good, solid bibliography or reference list, and you can definitely tell from a reference list alone whether the person who's written the report has used a wide range of resources. Critical analysis of materials, so all throughout your project, whether it's during your reading time and your researching time, or when you're actually writing the report and putting the critical analysis in, do this all throughout, and that will help you score these marks. Source evaluation, you can evaluate sources, especially if you're looking at things from a historical perspective, for instance. But you can evaluate any source and put it in your appendix, and that's at the very end of your report. Transcripts of interviews, and that's an example of some raw data that you've collected from your during your study, you're doing your EPQ. Bits of data, you can put that in. That's you using resources to support your written report and answering your questions. AO3, so develop and realise. This one is worth 40%, and it's defined as select and use a range of skills, including where appropriate, new technologies and problem solving to take decisions critically and achieve planned outcomes. So obviously the first one on this list is to ensure that the plan that you have has been implemented in full and that the aims that you have are actually achieved, because you can, it's quite easy in longer term projects to get a bit sidetracked and, there's a bit of interesting research here, but it's not quite your aims. It's not quite meeting your aims. So make sure that you're actually meeting them so that you can answer the research question properly and get these marks. Research has been acquired, so making sure you're acquiring your research and analysing it, justifying your decisions at every point as well throughout the project, especially for artifacts, really saying why you did certain things. And it can be a practical reason, it can be based on other people's research in the past, or existing literature. It can be that your supervisor suggested that, hey, this is a better idea than what you initially thought might be a good idea, and that's okay as long as it's all justified, and that you understand why you're making certain decisions in your project. Also, to get marks on this, you don't need to rely entirely on the direction from your supervisor. You can, this is your project. Take some ownership, like take the lead on your project. Obviously don't disregard completely your EPQ supervisor, respect them, but it's just to say, be independent, take some courage to make certain decisions, and do the research independently, all of these things to ensure that you're not just leaning on the information and the expertise and the thoughts and opinions of your EPQ supervisor. Also, you want to show idea development, and that's most often or more likely to be through your production log. Communicating fluently through research or your artifacts. Presentation is a key one, so not to forget your presentation. You want to show a deep understanding of the topic. I know it's only a short amount of time you have for your presentation, but you'll have questions at the end to answer, making sure you're answering those questions as well as you can, and that will help you to score well in this assessment objective. Okay, AO4, review. This one is worth 20%, and it's defined as evaluate all aspects of the extended project, including outcomes in relation to stated objectives and own learning and performance. Select and use a range of communication skills and media to present evidenced project outcomes and conclusions in an appropriate way. So you want to be showing this by reflecting on the learning process all throughout your project, reflecting, and going back into your production log and actually detailing that. Skills developed, so develop your skills. If you've developed a skill, if you've been able to do a presentation and you didn't sort of run off, run away from it. That's just you developing your communication skills, you're developing your presentation skills, developing your self-confidence. You're developing certain other skills as well all throughout the project. Make sure you're detailing that and making note of it and reflecting on it as well for your own growth, but also to score these marks too. Um, Aware of strengths and weaknesses, so that's all part of reflecting. Understanding the benefits of the EPQ is another like part of the reflecting process. Um, and we'll come on to the benefits of that in a moment. Evidence-based conclusions, so making sure the conclusions that you're drawing are actually based on the research that you found and you're not just making things up or just writing what your EPQ supervisor thinks is correct. um, Communicate your presentation well and including some details, not just of the content but of the process as well. People forget the process and the reflecting. All of that's important to include in your presentation as well. And answering the questions that you have in an academic and professional manner will help score marks in this objective as well. Whew, okay, so I've spoken a lot about the EPQ as a process, but what about the benefits for you, the students? I actually think the best thing about the EPQ is beyond what you produce. It's the many skills that you gain and develop from doing an EPQ that's just treasure. So EPQ students will become all of these things that you can see on the screen. So we'll start with independent. You will develop your ideas and lead your own project, research independently some of the time, practicing good time management to meet your deadlines, and all that will help you to become independent. Creative, you will find unique and creative solutions to problems that you will inevitably encounter whilst completing your EPQ. And by the way, it's very much a part of life to encounter problems, but what do you do with that? The EPQ is a fantastic way to get your creative juices flowing, do some problem solving, and reflect no matter how things go, good or bad. Critical thinkers, so you'll understand the importance of thinking critically and how to apply it, not just in your research, but to your daily lives as well. And this is super transferable. Trust me, you'll need this for higher education and for adult life in general. Open-minded, so you'll develop the ability to be open-minded about your ideas, other people's ideas, opinions, and research methods as you progress throughout your project. And that's a good thing to have, to be. Um, Passionate. I mean, if you've chosen your topic for the EPQ, it's very likely it's something that you're passionate about, right? So the EPQ allows you to develop that passion and see your potential for future growth as well. It can help you learn more about what moves you, and that can help with career decisions. It can help with even just deciding what you'd like to study at higher education, which I think is great. Researchers, you become researchers. So you'll engage with so many different research materials and methodologies, expanding your horizons past the traditional levels of research you've encountered at GCSE, like textbooks. You're really moving beyond that with your EPQ. And communicators, so you develop your communication skills big time, as you'll not only work with your supervisors, you may even work with external organisations to complete your projects. You'll become a public speaker as well when you present your research to an audience, a skill which will be used many, many times throughout your academic and working lives. And you can only get better at it through practicing like this. So all of these skills that students gain during the EPQ are skills which will support them all throughout university life and all throughout life beyond that as well. And these are so valuable and can really help you set yourself apart from other students when you're applying to university, you're applying to other higher education courses. The benefits of an EPQ actually extends beyond the personal attributes that we've just mentioned. So it supports the development of other academic skills, including critical thinking, ethics, time and project management, independent research. Also, doing an EPQ shows that the student is committed, motivated, and has initiative and is enthusiastic about pursuing whatever it is that you are doing the EPQ on, and doing something extra like beyond your curriculum. That's a good thing. And in all of this, the EPQ allows a university to judge your potential. So how successfully a student has managed an independent research project in the past, so an EPQ, is a good indicator of how successfully that student might transition into university life and all of the things that that brings. And also, research has shown that students with an EPQ adapt with greater ease to academic life at university and tend to have a higher overall university performance and progression level than students who didn't do the EPQ. Just saying. So, what do universities think about all of this? Here's the great news if you think you haven't heard any great news yet. The EPQ is well recognised and regarded, even lowering the entry requirements of some courses, plus giving those who have completed an EPQ the added advantage of earning a place on the course over those with similar grades but no substantial qualification like an EPQ. So an example, at the University of Leeds, in some cases, admissions tutors may wish to make an alternative offer to applicants, one of which may involve successful completion of the EPQ. So the example here is AAA at A level versus AAB plus EPQ. So lower entry requirements there, which is nice to have. And at Southampton, they will often offer students with an A in their EPQ a grade lower in the entry requirements than the normal entry requirements. Again, really nice to have. UCL, so University College London, recognises the value of the EPQ as preparation for independent study, so this is something that they value. Durham University, similarly, they'll consider the EPQ as a positive attribute when selecting amongst applicants of similar overall achievement. So it's a really good distinguishing factor between students who have done similarly well. I'm telling you, it's gold dust. As you can appreciate from this, each university and sometimes within a university, the different university faculties will take different views on the EPQ. So it's always worth mentioning it in the university application that you're making or will make. So I won't dwell too long on this, but you can see here some of the different adjustments that can be offered from Leeds. You have here some of the university courses as examples, the normal entry requirements, and then next to that, the entry requirements if you have an EPQ, which are obviously lower, and again, all nice to have. So where are you now? You're probably at the start of this chart, but this chart is nice because it breaks the EPQ down into smaller chunks, which in turn can be broken down into even smaller chunks to give you an overview of what to expect from doing an EPQ. All that's left for you to do now is to decide, do you want to do an EPQ? If so, or if you have no choice about it, what more do you need to know about the project and its processes, and what might you want to do your EPQ on? Thanks for listening. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. You can find out more about the EPQ on the website shown on the screen, and I wish you all the best. Bye!